Welcome to the lecture Game Design and Game Development. We will now take a brief journey through the history of computer games. To make it easier to find the relevant information later, we see the list of content here. In the early days of computer technology, video games were not commercial products, but rather technological experiments carried out by scientists and researchers. These early games laid the foundation for interactivity in the computer field and demonstrated the entertainment potential of digital technology. Do you actually know the world's first computer game? When do you think it was released? Here's a hint. It wasn't Tennis for Two. Well, the first game was called Nimatron and was developed in 1940. It was an electromechanical game and was based on the mathematical game Nim. In Nim, players take turns removing at least one object from a row of objects, with the aim of being the player who removes the last object. With Tic-Tac-Toe, we have the first graphical computer game in 1952, which even had the first simple AI opponent. Tennis for Two came in 1958, and is certainly the most famous example of the computer game pioneers, and was played on an oscilloscope at the time. You may also be familiar with Space War from 1962, which is considered one of the first multiplayer games. In the 1970s, the first gambling halls appeared, and video games became a commercial industry. Coin-operated machines introduced video gaming to millions of players and made it a mainstream form of entertainment. Computer Space was the first arcade game in 1971 of a whole series of games that were to follow. Everyone knows probably the game Pong from 1972 and also the game Breakout from 1976. With Space Invaders, we have a representative of the shooter genre in 1978. The game Asteroids from 1979 with its vector graphics is also considered a pioneer of an entire generation. It should be mentioned here, after all, it's good practice to program a selected classic. You can learn a lot in the process. A game like Breakout is certainly a good example, where we try to hit obstacles with a ball and destroy them without the ball touching the ground. Here you can implement simple collision detection and interact easy with the game. The 1980s marked the transition from arcade games to home entertainment as consoles and PCs became more accessible to consumers. This era brought about very innovative game mechanics. The game Pac-Man was released in 1980 and introduced character-driven gaming. Donkey Kong from 1981 is considered the founder of the platform game genre and marks the debut of one of the most famous game characters of all time, the plumber Mario, who later becomes Super Mario. A financial collapse in the games industry in 1983 was short-lived. In 1984, Tetris, a game that most people are probably also familiar with, saw the light of day. The Nintendo Entertainment System has been on the market since 1985. Since the release of The Legend of Zelda in 1986, open-world exploration has been introduced and battery-based save systems are possible. With the rise of more powerful hardware, the 1990s saw the transition from 2D sprites to immersive 3D worlds. The introduction of CD-ROMs, advanced graphics, and better storytelling transformed gaming into an art form. We can only show a small selection for this period. With Doom 1993, perhaps the most famous first-person shooter entered the stage. 1 year later, the PlayStation came onto the market and is still an important player in the entertainment market today. Super Mario 64 was released in 1996 and continues to entertain young and old in a variety of ways to this day. With the virtual pet Tamagotchi, an interesting product was launched on the market in 1996 that delighted millions of players. Half-Life introduced the first narrative-driven storytelling in first-person shooters in 1998. The Sims in 2000 is certainly one of the best-selling games of all time. Here, everyday life could be simulated in a virtual world. We've already mentioned it. Reprogramming classics is good practice. I like to show this example in the first programming semester, when the students are getting to know the Java programming language. It is about programming a simple Tamagotchi without interaction on the console with text output. We call it Javagotchi, and it has 4 states: happy, hungry, eating, and starving. This is a good opportunity to get to know the work with finite state machines, which play a major role in the development of computer games. Try to understand the diagram and recreate it yourself in any programming language. The 2000s and 2010 brought high-definition graphics, online multiplayer, and expansive open worlds. Consoles and PCs became more powerful, allowing for greater realism and new forms of interactive entertainment. Here too, the range of products is too huge. However, one of the milestones was certainly the game World of Warcraft, which was released in 2004 and popularized massively multiplayer online role-playing games. The Nintendo Wii was released in 2006 and the Kinect in 2010. Both brought a completely new possibility of real-time interaction to the game. Both also form the basis for very exciting scientific projects. 2011 was the birthday of a game called Minecraft, whose impact remains unbroken to this day and is the classic sandbox game. Grand Theft Auto, a milestone in open-world gaming and cinematic storytelling, was released in 2013. Today, gaming continues to evolve with cutting-edge technologies like virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing. These advancements are shaping the future of how games are played and experienced. The role of generative AIs not only plays a major role in the creation of stories, images, videos, or 3D objects. Nowadays, entire games can be created either with AI support in a game engine or directly in the large language models. You wouldn't believe how easy programming games with AI support has become. I have put together a small list of tools here that you can try out right away. They can relieve you of many tasks in the development of games and speed up the process enormously. After listening carefully to this lecture, answering the following comprehension question should help you to summarize the most important statements again on your own.